set yourself straight, learn how to live free. Addiction is a dead end road of pain and misery. I didn't know which way to go.
Hey folks, I'm Jerry. Welcome to Recovery Today, the only show in the Tri-Cities area and beyond that dares to look at alcoholism, drug addiction, and recovery from it. And with me every week is my guest host, Deanna Irick, founder of Iron Mountain Counseling, Elizabeth, Tennessee. Recovery Today is not affiliated with any recovery program, organization, or whatever. We just fire from the hip. Shout out to Heritage TV for allowing us to have this show. I think it's long needed and well overdue. Deanna, we have a special guest today.
We do. We argue a lot about what the federal government should and shouldn't do, right? Our last couple of shows have been big time about the federal government. So I have my friend Paul Harris works as a federal probation officer, and I thought it might be a good idea for us to just talk to him about, if someone gets arrested, how probation works for the federal government, some of the things that they do to really and truly help people, because I've worked with Paul in the past, so I know that there are programs out there that help through even if you get arrested. So I wanted to invite Paul to come and hang with us today.
Thank you for having me. Welcome, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm going to do something different. I'm just going to be quiet this show and listen. Kinda.
We're all too funny.
Until something sparks my little brain. And then I'll be scatterboy. All right.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So I think, Paul, if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about what your job is and what you do.
Sure. I'm a federal probation officer in the Eastern District of Tennessee. And when someone is arrested and placed on bond in the federal system, many times part of the conditions of that bond are drug treatment and drug testing. And we will refer that person appropriately and try to assist them into getting cleaned up and being prepared to be the best they can be for the trying time that's to come for them as they work their way through the federal criminal justice system. If they eventually are convicted and spend time in custody, when they get out, as part of their conditions of supervised release, they'll also have drug and alcohol treatment conditioning and also a condition for drug testing. We will monitor them and assist them in the referrals for counseling and monitor their participation in that counseling and make sure that they're working their recovery.
Right, and doing the same. And you do the same for mental health, right?
Yes, we do.
So it's pretty equal. So if I have a person in my family that gets arrested or is charged with something that's a federal offense, and I spend all of my energy keeping them out of trouble or out of the system, why would you say that I should let them go in? What's available inside the jails, or what else kind of things?
I mean, as we all know, it's kind of not our choices when we go in, not our choice to go in most of the time.
I know that one.
It usually will occur at the most inopportune time for various people, but I have seen treatment work in the system that we operate in. I've had family members that have called and said, I'm very thankful that my cousin, brother, sister, mother, father went into custody when they did and got in, and it addressed their addiction issues when it did, because they felt like otherwise they would have killed themselves, passed away from abuse. We have beyond just sending people for treatment. I think the drug testing for people that are your more casual users, that can keep them clean and sober for a long period of time. And we've had instances where we have a random codephone system where a person is assigned a color, and they'll call a 1-800 number on a daily basis, and if their color comes up, they've got to report for a drug screen. And we've had individuals who are not actively using and have been clean and sober for a number of years, and we've taken them off that, thinking, okay, they're ready to come off. I've had more than I can count call me and say, don't take me off that Codafone. That's the one thing that's keeping me from using.
Right.
Is that
aspirin.
That's my accountability,
Yeah.
because I know that if I use, I'm going to get caught.
Right.
So there's
Pretty cool.
there's the ability to prevent problems down the road, and really, the federal government is always looking at ways to spend money wisely. And
Really?
if we can, I know you'd appreciate that, Jerry. I think that if we can keep people clean and sober in the community and treating other people honestly, that we're always better as a community and as a society.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I do get the whole, leave me on it. Because even if they were wanting to stay clean, what we know about most addicts is they're from families of addiction. And I said most, for those of you out there that doesn't apply to, or their friends are using. And so if they're on probation and they say they have just another weapon to say, no, I can't use because I have to test. I may test tomorrow or the next day. It kind of gives them just one more element to use to safeguard themselves. Because some of their friends are going to say use anyway, nobody's going to catch you, you have all of that. But if they've been able to maintain their recovery for a while, then they're more able to stand up to their friends if they have a reason. And because most of us will listen to, okay, I have to do this, I'm going to get in trouble. And so a lot of people in that circle will say, okay, we don't want you to get in trouble. In the same way that addicts who go to 12-step meeting has a sponsor, right? So you could almost look at the Codafone as a sponsor for this person if they're not involved in a 12-step meeting. There's an accountability factor that most human beings have to have on some form or another, whether you're addicted or not. So I think that's really a neat thing to kind of go through. We also talked about a few minutes before the show about programs that are actually available within the Federal Bureau of Prisons. That even though I wouldn't want my kids, or my husband or anybody to have to go, but if they're in the middle of an addiction and I can't do anything about it, and I've done everything I know to do, and I've spent all the money I have trying to get them clean and sober, and it didn't work, now they're arrested. What can we do once they're arrested and they're headed off to a federal prison? What happens for them there as far as treatment?
We've all probably seen the issues that local jails have where drug treatment is typically not available. The one thing about the federal system is there are a number of good programs in the Bureau of Prisons that assist people in dealing with addiction issues. They have a very simple 40-hour program, but they also have a 500-hour drug treatment program, which is quite intense. And if someone meets the criteria for referral to that, they are sent to a facility or recommended for a facility where that can be accomplished. Do they always follow through with it? No, they don't.
Right.
I mean, and it's just like any other recovery. I mean, if they don't want to be in it, they can opt out of it.
Right.
It does allow time off their sentence if they do complete it. So a lot of people make that effort.
Why not?
Yeah. But that's an example of a program that's in the prison system that a person can make themselves available to.
And it's a pretty awesome program. I mean, it's not as easy as just, okay, I want to go to the program, and they get sent and then everything's all good and they get their 500 hours. From what I understand, that there are specific behaviors that have to happen. There's changes that have to happen. If they even go a little bit off, they're out, because there's so many people that need that program within the Federal Bureau.
There is. There's a waiting list for individuals to sometimes get into that. And even if you met all of the criteria and the judge said, yes, I want you to go to that program, and made that recommendation, if the space is not available, it's just not available. And that's the way it is in the community also. I mean, we have outpatient facilities that deal with that all the time. The difference being is in that federal system, once you're in it, it's difficult to rearrange yourself back and be back in line to get into that program. But for those that have went through it, and I've had a number of people who have went through it, they have indicated that it was definitely a life-changing program for them.
Sure.
And we try to transition them once they've completed that, or if they didn't, but I'll speak to those that have. We try to transition them into a program in the community and that utilizes that same treatment modality, and they've got their workbooks or their journals and things like that, and we'll make those available. The person will make those available to the counselor that we refer them to, and so that there's more of a seamless transition from the community or from the prison system to the community.
That's cool. I didn't realize that you guys did all that. That is really good. And I have a question. When you screen for drugs, how do you combat the stuff they take to mask what they're using? Like in my old days, it was vinegar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you have a little
No, it's like Gold Seal or something you can order off the internet.
Yeah, I don't know what
There's
they
all
do. I
kinds
don't
of
know what
crazy
they do
stuff
now,
that they
but-
do.
There's always.
I smell like a vinegar bottle. But how do you, if they do take this stuff, is there a test that you guys have that know that they're doing?
We do.
Trying to mask it?
Let me say this: as long as there are tests, there's going to be a way to try to beat that test.
Sure.
Some of which may or may not be successful.
Yeah.
I can speak to the ones that we have caught who said, "Oh, I bought X and thought it would work, and it didn't
Right.
work." The people that bought something that worked, they're not going to come to us and say, "Hey, I beat your test."
Gotcha.
But so I mean, I'm sure there are ways to beat it. We do test for various ways. We look at what is normally found in human urine.
Right.
We look at creatinine levels and pH balance and things like that. Things that everybody who has a computer and can Google knows
There
about.
might be a little signpost there when you
Yeah,
okay,
and,
hey, what is this? You know?
And we will send that to a lab, and they'll do a very thorough examination of that. And many times it'll come back and it'll say it was dilute, or it was not consistent with human urine is the terminology they'll use.
Right.
And at that point, and I'll say this also, if somebody comes in and has an issue with substance abuse, if it's their first problem, if they've not had a problem previously, and that's the first time that they've said, say the first time they had a positive for drug X, we're going to notify the court. The court has to be notified
Right.
in that situation. More times than not, treatment is the place you go next, because again, like I said before, it's just cheaper to have someone fully functioning in the
Right.
community than it is to lock them back up.
Right.
And it helps out
Right.
in a lot of different ways.
And do you have like a 3 strike rule, or is it?
In the federal system, there is a law that says that 4 positive drug screens, which would be 4 separate uses, within a calendar year would mandate a revocation of that term of supervised release. So there is a law that covers that.
Right.
4.
Yeah, but 4 is not totally, I mean, in our line of work, as a treatment provider, 4 is not outrageous. So you get somebody in who's just starting, they have a good one, then they fall off, have a bad one, then they may have 3 or 4 good ones, and they have a bad one, because you're learning new behaviors. So whether it's brand new to, I just got arrested, now I'm going to try really hard, and I've got to do it on my own around my whole family who's using, I might be able to go once or twice and get a negative screen, and then all of a sudden something happens, and here I am again. Then I get a positive screen, it scares me, maybe I can hold out for now a month or 2 with some help, So 4 is not outrageous if you look at a first chance or a first time person who has no clue how to really and truly be clean.
And what we do when there is that evidence of falling back into the abuse, we'll make a referral to a treatment agency like Iron Mountain or various other ones. Mm-hmm. And we trust that clinician to tell us what that person needs. If after meeting with that person, they say, it's an issue that goes beyond just the one screen. They've got a serious addiction issue. They need intensive outpatient treatment, or they need outpatient treatment
Or
twice a month, or they need residential. We contract with local facilities to provide that within the federal probation system. And so we're able to better plug those people in to those treatment agencies. And going back to your first point, Deanna, where you say, is it better for my family member to be in the system as opposed to out of the system? It can be better, because a lot of those things are available at a reduced cost, because they have contracted with us at a reduced cost compared to what they would pay if they were just out on the street trying to achieve that same goal. Is it worse for someone for some people to be in that system? Well, yeah, it probably is for them as an individual. If they're not willing to really try to work toward their recovery, the issue of public safety comes into play at that point. And there comes that point in time when the judge is going to look at how they've conducted themselves in the community, and the judge is going to say, we've got to bring you back in. So that
and I think it's kind of neat. I mean, the whole checks and balances when it comes to addiction or mental health for these people is really a kind of a neat system if you can kind of look at it from, this is truly a helpful place. We all want to look at being involved with court, anything like that, as disciplinarian. But if I'm in the deep throes of a meth addiction, I don't care what my family does and how much they love me, they are not going to be able to help me. No. They can spend tens of thousands of dollars on me to go to a 15-day program, a 30-day program. But what we know for sure about meth is it takes 18 months of being somewhere away from that drug, and sometimes that's not enough. You know, so maybe that prison system is the answer for some people in some instances. You know, and we do know people who have come out of the prison system and have done very well, and then some that don't. Right, Jerry?
Yes. But what I like about your program, it seems to me, is number one, it makes them become accountable.
Yeah.
You know, and for an addict, that's strange behavior, being accountable for anything. You know, and that's good. And when you learn that, you know,
well, and when you learn that somebody else can tell you what to do and it's okay.
And then you see that these folks aren't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to help me.
Yeah.
You know, how much help do you get out in the street?
Right.
They just helped you die.
Yeah.
You know, so that's cool. See, I didn't know that. And you know, I'm a hardhead when it comes to certain kinds of recovery. But this stuff is cool. You know, I didn't know that. I mean, I know that in the jails around here, they have the 12-step meetings and this and that, but the stuff you guys offer is in your face, man. It's good.
Yeah.
You know, and probably makes an addict look at his life or her life. Right. You know, where am I heading? What am I doing here? You know, these people are trying to help me.
Well, and the other thing that Paul has left out is that he does home visits as well as part of his job. So it's not as easy as just, okay, here's your list of things that your counselor said you need to do, and I'm going to hold you accountable. But then him and Tressa and the other people in Upper East are out there going to the houses and seeing where you live and what's going on where you live. And I know from past working with Paul that you've helped people find other places to live that can't make it in the home that they're in. So it's more
they don't always go back to the nice rosy home.
Right.
You know, it's back at it again. Man.
Right.
You know, sooner or later, it's get out or get back in.
Yeah.
And then go to the can.
Right. So there's a lot of things that you do that you really haven't said as part of your job as well.
Sure. We do conduct home visits on a regular basis. We are very field-oriented in the Eastern District of Tennessee. Rarely do you find individuals reporting to us. We don't have a set reporting schedule for defendants that are under supervision. We will go to their home. We will go to their place of business. We'll talk to their family. We'll talk to the employer. When we talk to the employer, the questions that I'm asking the employer are, is he missing? Is he coming in late? You know, those things that kind of leads you to believe that there may be a substance
abuse issue. Where's his mind during work?
Right.
You know, is it over there with his buddies? What are they doing? Or,
yeah.
You know,
so we're really trying to have a holistic approach to dealing with the substance abuse issue, protecting the community, and really assisting to rebuild this person's life.
Right. Right. And so, for anybody and employers out there that are concerned about hiring somebody out of the prison system, if they are in federal probation, that could possibly be just like nurses that are on the TEMPAT program. Those might be better people to employ, at least in the short term, than someone else, because that somebody's going to be coming in looking at them, somebody's going to be talking to you, they're watched over very closely. So if you're an employer,
I've had a few guys tell me that's what they've told their employers. They've when they applied for the job, they said, "Hey, look, I am on a federal term of supervised release. I just got out of doing federal prison time. However, here's what's being done to watch me at this point.
Right.
You can hire me knowing I'm being watched and knowing that I'm being monitored, or you can hire the other guy that he may be doing the same thing that I was doing. Nobody's drug screening him like I'm being drug screened. Nobody's pursuing therapy like I'm pursuing therapy."
Right.
So they've used that as a plus, which is good.
And I think it is a plus. And I think it's a plus for anybody that's in recovery to have an accountability system. And so, the federal accountability, I haven't really talked that much to local probation officers, but I know drug court is very effective for some folks as well.
Yeah, because we had one, my brother started one back in Boston, and they had guards there at night. And if you messed up, you were going to jail.
Right.
If you put your head down and you slept,
Right.
and you were a nuisance, you didn't want to be there.
Right.
Well, we have a nice little home for you.
That's right.
Just get in a little truck, let's go for a ride.
Right.
Which was cool. I mean,
Well, in drug
and it had
court-
to start somewhere, and it's gotten better.
It does have to start
And now
somewhere.
listen to Paul, it's really gotten good.
Yeah.
I was unaware of this, call me scatter for nothing, but
Well, no,
this
but
is-
there's a lot of people haven't,
it's a
and that's
good
why we
education for
invited
me.
Paul, right?
yeah.
But if we want to talk about drug court is local.
Yeah.
Okay, and so a lot of judges that sign on to do drug court are not being paid for that. They're volunteering for
Right.
drug court or mental health court. But what that is that the same accountability kind of happens, and that is that person has to show up, has to be drug screened. The probation officer, treatment professional, all come into court and say yay or nay. If they're not meeting, then they have to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They have to attend so much education. So, and it's just one more way of different systems trying to keep people out of jail. Being in jail by itself, just like going to AA meetings by themselves, helps some people. They're effective for some people.
Yeah.
But going to jail by itself may help me if this is my first DUI and I was just not paying attention, whatever. So it may make me hit the straight and narrow and never ever drive again when I'm drinking. But I may be one of those people that just brush it off, and now I've got my second DUI and my third DUI. And we hear about 16 and 18 DUIs every once in a while popping up. But if I have some accountability through a drug court and they're screening me and I know I'm going to jail every time I screw up, it may make a difference.
Well, it should make a difference.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we see what's out here.
Right.
And to some, they just don't care.
Well, addicts
So-
die every day, which is a sad part of it all.
Yeah. What is in your program, the pass-fail? What's the percentage?
I don't know the strict percentage of individuals in treatment in our area that are successful as opposed to not successful. But I can say that the vast majority are successful that are on a term of supervised release. The recidivism rate, I believe, is in the 30% range somewhere. Most of our cases are obviously drug-related. We deal with weapons charges also, and a lot of the internet pornography crimes, the child predators, things like that. But drugs are still by far the largest issue that we deal
Yeah, I
with.
think what is it, in the United States, the last time I knew, 78% of the people
it's
incarcerated
huge.
were alcohol and drug related.
Right. It's huge.
So, which makes me think that we should try to figure out another system.
Right. But I'm not even sure
Because-
that's a good enough. I think that it's even higher. Because I work with people, as you know, at Iron Mountain. I
being
work
kind.
with people, right?
I'm being kind.
But like I have people that come in and say, these are my charges, but I was doing drugs, and they never get charged with the drug offense, so they don't get tallied up. But most of those weapons charges, I would imagine, have something to do with drugs as well.
Oh, sure.
I think a lot of the fraud
Right.
that you see also has
Yes.
something to do with substance abuse many
Yeah.
times. I mean, greed is there, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the fraudulent behavior that you see trying to get a little bit extra money here or there,
Right.
they're trying to feed an addiction many times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing that is also in the federal system is there's a statute that says that barring an order from the court not to, you take a drug screen within the first 15 days of supervision on everybody. So you may have the bank embezzler, but you're still going to drug screen that individual right off the bat. And then you're going to take a couple more throughout the period of their supervision just to see if there's not a substance abuse issue
Right.
that's there that you can address.
Right, that's hidden and you can't see right off the bat because they've got all this other stuff going on. I just think it's a really cool program, so you know that's why I wanted to have Paul on to actually talk about it, because there's a lot of misperception out there. Is that even the right word? Misperception, whatever it is, about what the federal government really can do and can't do as far as helping people, as far as being involved, and you know, whether we like it or not, human beings don't do well without a set of rules.
Oh. Hello.
In general, I mean, addict or not addict, you know, we all make up rules for our kids because kids behave better if they know what the rules are. Well, so do adults.
Yeah.
You know, so working our way through that is really important.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me. I
I'm
appreciate
telling
it.
you. You opened
Thank
my-
Thanks, Paul.
You opened
You're
my
great.
eyes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I really enjoyed this. I got a lot out of this that I didn't realize was happening.
Right.
You know, maybe the lower court should look at what you guys do. You know,
Well, and I know in
and
Washington
maybe-
County they tried it for a
and
while.
may-
I don't know if that's
And maybe the government
but
will
we'll find
start
out.
throwing more money because it's a health issue first, a crime
Right.
issue second.
Right.
You know, the government has it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
crime issue first.
Well, and what do they say? Right now it's $8 for every dollar spent.
Yeah.
If you spend $1 on treatment, prevention, intervention, it saves $8 in the long run. But we're so short-sighted with our money that we have to save this year. So forget about that treatment stuff because this year we'll just take care of this piece.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another issue that goes along with that.
Well, we'll just keep plugging on, folks.
We will.
That's all we do. We're here to help, and man, thanks a lot. That
You're
was
welcome.
cool. Well, this wraps up another Recovery Today show. And the band's getting ready to play. And I'll end the show like I end all the shows. If you're out there and you're having a problem with alcoholism or drug addiction and you're not doing anything about it, you're just spreading the disease. Thanks, brother.
If you're out there in Wally World and you live a life like me, it's time to make a gut check, stop the misery, go get yourself straight.